There are a couple of tech leaders, one of them that spoke about, I do not do any introspection. Another one actually was down about empathy, saying empathy is a liability. And I'm here to say, no, that's not true. I've been having some really profound thoughts this morning. I just got back from Italy, and several of y'all know that I've been traveling a lot for working with entrepreneurs around the world. South by Southwest here in Austin, 1 week in Mexico, and then 2.5 weeks in Italy. And I've had a lot of thoughts because I've been implementing a lot of AI for my own business. And I've been wondering this morning, especially about this idea AI is uncovering even more than social media and algorithms have been. We see it in our politics, we see it in all sorts of different things that are happening in the world where the technology is being used to divide us, and human frailty is showing up even more. Jobs are being lost, things like that are happening. Part of what we need to be asking right now is, who are we? Who are we in the midst of this change that's happening? How will you hide your frailty? Part of what's happening in the world, and part of what AI and news and just where we're seeing things rip wide open, where we're finding out the truths about how politicians and other people are using technology and media to divide us. And also, a few people are starting to show how resilient they are. Part of what's happening is people who are having to pick up arms and stuff like that are actually showing us the way here in the United States, as an example. Part of the reason I got involved with working with entrepreneurs all these years ago was this idea that at the fundamental level, entrepreneurship's a path that creates autonomy. It creates agency. It creates the ability to say, hey, I can do something. Part of what we need to move into when we look at human frailty and we look at the machines, the one thing that we're going to have is being human. The one thing going forward that we'll have is our humanity. In the face of the machines that come, in the face of the algorithms that come, we should learn to become even more human. And I want to talk about 4 things in a simple framework that I'm going to continue to develop. And I'd like your feedback, and I'd like you to be a co-conspirator in this with me. The first one is care. Okay, what is care? So Margaret Mead, this one anthropologist, said the following thing. She said that human society didn't start until there was care. And the evidence of care was someone broke their femur bone, that is the thigh bone, and someone else stayed behind. Someone brought that person food and water. So over the weeks that happened, the person was able to heal to then be able to join into moving around again as a hunter-gatherer. That was the first sign that society had begun. This disruption in this one individual's life created care. As we recognize the disruptions happening, first thing we do is we care. We actually embrace care. We see it as the number one activity of being human. This is the most fundamental thing. The second thing is learning to connect. Why am I bringing this up about? There's a book called Bowling Alone. In this book, it talks about that in the United States, as an example, in the 60s, there was the same amount of bowling activity. People would bowl all the time. But the difference now, in the past, there would be bowling leagues and lots of people would be in those bowling leagues. But right now, there's just as much bowling, but not very many people in groups. In fact, the author goes on to say that it's interesting that that especially in the United States, the one key characteristic is people are not in groups as much as before. One of the things that the algorithm is doing is we're actually thinking that somehow connecting through a little box, a little phone or whatever it might be, is somehow making us connecting to others. But the truth is that the connection is not there, that we're losing the fundamental connections. So the thing that I want to say is, this weekend or this next few days, the number one thing you can do is get connected to people. Now, I just came back from Italy, and one of the biggest gifts of the trip was in the last part, I was in Sicily with this one couple that had invited me to say, hey, join our vacation. And so, I flew into Catania. I hopped in the car with them, and we went to another city, a little town called Sickley, and hung out and had this wonderful time. We didn't go to museums. We didn't go see things. Part of what we did was sit down and have these amazing meals with each other. There was a total of 6 of us. We just were a lot of times around a table like this, making meals together, having conversations. We went down to the beach. We had a picnic. It's really simple. Part of the answer is just get together with friends and start cultivating those friends. One of the things that we can do in our humanity that makes us more resilient is being connected to others. The third thing is coordination. One of the things in the past that some of you that've seen me speak before talk about, I've talked about open source software versus hierarchical organizations, like as an example, Windows, the operating system for Microsoft versus Linux. For those of you who don't know, Linux powers 73% of the cell phone market. You might say, hey, well, why is that? Well, the thing that's interesting is a bunch of hobbyists actually built the base of that software. They learned how to coordinate activities through a centralized website that then said, hey, I don't work for you, but you don't work for me. But by us working together, we're able to do all sorts of interesting things. That is, I contribute a little bit of software, you contribute a little bit of software. Well, coordination is what made that possible. And so this platform, Linux that then drove Android, is being used much more widely, both in hosting centers as well as in phones. Once we remember to care and then we get connected to others, the third part is to coordinate and look for methodologies of coordinating at scale. Like, how do we coordinate back and forth in our communities, in our products, and the things that we're doing and things like that? Like just, getting really connected and then coordinating among these different individuals. We see it happening in open source. Now it's going to start happening at scale in business models and things like that, where our communities are able to really interact and coordinate and become what I call communities of practice. That is where we do things together. And in building these communities of practice that we're coordinating things, we can take on any problem that we face at scale because of the sheer numbers of people. I've been in 23 countries over the last 10 years. And in just the last 4 weeks, Austin, Monterrey, Mexico, 3 main cities in Italy, and back home. Why do that? Well, once we start getting connected, we can start coordinating behaviors and solve all the world's problems together. Part of that is, you might have heard me say before, just like William Gibson says, the future's already here, it's not widely distributed yet. My corollary on that idea is all the world's problems have already been solved. It's a matter of connecting the entrepreneur with the solution to the market with the problem. And this is a coordination problem that we want to do at scale, because with that, we don't have to buy into that, we can't solve this problem because we don't have the resources. The truth is, someone's already solved it on the planet. We need to coordinate together and bring these solutions over here to solve those problems. And we can do it at scale. And so the final thing in this framework of, care, connect, coordinate is now create. We're at a moment in history that because of AI, because of the technology, and because we can connect all around the world, and because we can coordinate our behaviors, it's time to create. You have a right of authorship. Whatever it is that frustrates you about the world, it's time to exercise that right of authorship. The main thing is it's time to actually take on and create answers to the problem sets that you see. You might not have the answer, but part of the network we want to build out and that we're building is to help connect in, to coordinate activity around those networks and to create. It's time to start believing in this so that you actually start the process. You can do something this week. You can do something today to even just start thinking about what might be possible. Too many people in the world hold their shoulders like this and say, I just can't do anything about it. It's just the way things are. That's not true. The main thing I want to say is, and as we reflect on what the machines and all the disruptions of wars, the crazy politicians who are not thinking about people, that are just creating all this destruction, part of the thing that it's our time to call on is to start operating at a different scale. Starts with caring and allow yourself to care. It's really natural. It's time to actually take the heart and actually really drive it forward and care and get connected and start coordinating and then create together. Over the next few weeks, part of what I'm going to do is it's time for me to start sharing more about this model. I'll share more about the details about what happened in my life to bring me to this point where some of this knowledge became painfully aware. And, you use everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly about what happens in our lives to come up with the answers for the future. I'd like to do that. I'd like to share with you. We're going to be building more of a connection around these concepts so that you and I and a bunch of us can work together. Because when we care together, we can move mountains and we can do all sorts of amazing things. All right, with that, I'm going to stop today's video, but I want to say together we can change the world for the better. Let's go do exactly that. Thanks for your time today.